Psychology, at its heart, seeks to understand the enigma of human existence. Why do people think, feel, and behave as they do? This seemingly simple question opens the door to one of the most complex and fascinating scientific disciplines. In a world marked by technological change, mental health crises, and a growing awareness of the intricacies of human interaction, psychology is not merely a field of academic inquiry, it is a practical compass for navigating modern life. Its relevance extends far beyond the confines of clinical treatment or research laboratories. It influences education, leadership, public policy, personal growth, and interpersonal relationships. Yet, despite its widespread application, misconceptions about psychology persist, often reducing it to a collection of vague insights or self-help cliches. This makes it essential to establish a clear and rigorous understanding of what psychology truly is as a science, how it has evolved, and why its methods matter. Psychology is traditionally defined as the scientific study of mind and behavior. This definition, however, unfolds into a vast array of interrelated questions. The term mind refers not only to cognitive processes like perception, memory, and decision making, but also to subjective experiences such as emotions and consciousness. Behavior encompasses every observable action, from a toddler's first step to the complex interactions of social groups. Early psychological thought can be traced back to ancient philosophical traditions, including Plato's theory of the tripartite soul and Aristotle's exploration of sensation and memory. However, psychology only emerged as an independent scientific discipline in the late 19th century. Wilhelm Wundt, often regarded as the father of modern psychology, established the first psychological laboratory in Leipzig in 1879, marking a departure from philosophical speculation toward empirical investigation. Schultz and Schultz, 2016. The foundational schools of thought that shaped the early trajectory of psychology, structuralism, functionalism, behaviorism, psychoanalysis, and later humanistic psychology, reflected different assumptions about what should be studied and how. Structuralism, led by Wundt and his student Edward Titchener, focused on breaking mental processes into their most basic elements. In contrast, William James and the functionalists emphasized the purpose of consciousness in helping individuals adapt to their environments. Behaviorism, with figures like John B. Watson and B.F. Skinner, rejected introspection altogether and championed the study of observable behavior, arguing that all behavior is shaped by environmental stimuli. Psychoanalysis, introduced by Sigmund Freud, offered a radically different view, delving into the unconscious mind, defense mechanisms, and the formative influence of early childhood experiences. By the mid-20th century, humanistic psychology, represented by Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, reacted against both the mechanistic view of behaviorism and the pessimistic determinism of psychoanalysis. It sought to highlight personal growth, self-actualization, and the inherent potential for goodness in human beings. Peterson, 2018. Modern psychology has moved beyond these schools, embracing an integrative, interdisciplinary approach. Cognitive psychology investigates internal mental processes, often drawing upon advances in neuroscience and information theory. Biological psychology, or biopsychology, explores the neural substrates of behavior and the influence of genetics, hormones, and brain structures. Social psychology examines how individuals are influenced by others, while developmental psychology tracks changes in behavior and cognition across the lifespan. In addition, applied subfields such as clinical, educational, forensic, and organizational psychology provide context-specific tools for addressing real-world problems. One of the defining features of psychology as a scientific discipline is its methodological rigor. Psychology relies on empirical research, often using controlled experiments, longitudinal studies, correlational analyses, and observational methods to generate and test hypotheses. The scientific method remains central, formulating a question, generating a hypothesis, collecting data, analyzing results, and drawing conclusions that are open to peer scrutiny and replication. Creswell and Creswell, 2018. This insistence on empirical validation distinguishes psychology from pseudoscientific approaches or anecdotal interpretations. For instance, the notion that individuals only use 10% of their brain has been widely circulated, yet it is a myth with no empirical basis. Beierstein, 1999. Scientific psychology demands evidence, and it refines its theories through constant revision in light of new data. Psychological research also raises profound ethical questions. How do we protect participants in studies that might expose them to stress or deception? What responsibilities do psychologists bear when working with vulnerable populations? Ethical principles such as informed consent, confidentiality, and beneficence are not merely administrative guidelines, but foundational to the integrity of the discipline. The American Psychological Association's Code of Ethics outlines these responsibilities clearly and rigorously. APA 2017. Furthermore, psychology must grapple with its own historical blind spots, including past complicity in unethical practices such as the Tuskegee syphilis study or the use of psychological techniques in military interrogation. These episodes underscore the need for ongoing ethical vigilance. To understand the practical power of psychology, consider the example of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a widely used treatment for depression and anxiety. CBT is grounded in research on the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. It empowers individuals to identify distorted thinking patterns, challenge irrational beliefs, and replace maladaptive behaviors with healthier alternatives. Numerous studies have confirmed its efficacy across different populations and settings. Butler et al., 2006. Similarly, in the realm of education, psychological insights into motivation, attention, and memory have revolutionized teaching methods. Teachers who understand how retrieval practice, spaced repetition, or intrinsic motivation function can design learning environments that enhance long-term retention and student engagement. Brown et al., 2014. In the workplace, organizational psychologists apply theories of leadership, teamwork, and job satisfaction to increase productivity and employee well-being. Reflecting on these examples, one might ask, how would my daily life change if I were more aware of the psychological mechanisms behind my decisions? What unconscious biases influence how I perceive others? In what ways do stress and emotion affect my ability to reason clearly? Such questions are not reserved for experts. They are invitations for anyone to live more consciously and responsibly. Psychology provides not only tools for intervention, but also lenses through which to examine one's own experience with greater clarity. The study of psychology, then, is ultimately a study of the human condition. It does not offer easy answers or universal formulas. Rather, it cultivates a mindset of inquiry, curiosity, and compassionate skepticism. It teaches us that behavior is complex, that context matters, and that scientific understanding evolves. As students of psychology, one does not merely absorb facts about the brain or behavior. One learns to think critically, to question assumptions, and to engage ethically with the lives of others. In this sense, psychology is not just a science, it is also a craft and a calling. Looking ahead, psychology faces both immense challenges and exciting possibilities. The rise of artificial intelligence, the mental health impact of climate change, and the growing cultural diversity of societies demand new theories, methods, and applications. At the same time, the core aim remains unchanged: to understand the mind in order to better serve the dignity, potential, and flourishing of the human person.